Hey, what's good, everyone? Welcome to the Healthy Mentality. I am your host, Charles, also known as RMZ. Thank you for being here tonight. Please kick your feet up. Hopefully we have a great show for you tonight. If you haven't already, please take a moment to smash those like and subscribe buttons. And if you're watching on the mobile app, throw some hype my way. I'd appreciate it. It all helps the channel to grow, and your boy's trying to get to 5,000 subscribers. All right, now, a reminder, there are 2 GLP-1 meetups coming up. The first one is in Atlanta on June 27th, then Dallas on October 17th. Check the link in the description for details and for tickets. And as a reminder, I have also partnered with Friday, and if you're uninsured, underinsured, or branded GLP-1s just aren't in the budget for you, Fridays has you covered. They offer compounded GLP-1 options at accessible prices with no membership fees, and that includes lab work, unlimited provider visits, nutrition coaching, dietitian support, and live workout programs. They also provide access to TRT and powerhouse supplements like NAD Plus and Somorlin. Plus, they even have a meal delivery service for additional costs. You can use the link in the description of this video and code RMZ to get a $150 discount on your first order. Now, before we begin, a quick disclaimer. I am not a healthcare professional, and neither are any of my guests. Nothing shared here is medical advice. We're simply sharing our personal experiences and perspectives. Please consult your healthcare team before making any changes to your treatment or routine. All right. At the end of the show, we'll try to do a live Q&A. If you have a question, drop it in the comments and start it with 3Qs so I can easily filter and find it. And if you're a man looking to come on and tell your story, email me at roundmoundzep@gmail.com. And you can find the address scrolling across the bottom of the screen and ticker there. With that said, please help me in welcoming our guest for tonight's panel. Oops. All right, gentlemen, welcome to the stage. Thanks for coming.
Appreciate it.
Good evening.
Paul, I was thinking about um, you're probably the only one that will get this reference because we're from the same era.
Yeah.
Crush Groove and Run's house. When Run said we have a whole lot of superstars on this stage here tonight, and I think that's what we got here. So let's go around. King Darium, what's good? You want to introduce yourself, please?
Sure, absolutely. What's up, y'all? It's King Darium, and I have no kingdom. I'm just kidding. I'm here on the messy middle of my journey here, just trying to live each day to the fullest. I'm out here just trying to share, encourage, and grow with everybody along their journey. So I'm happy to be here.
Thank you, Darium. And Grant G Money, what's good with you?
Hey guys, Grant Campbell here. I just here to continue to share my journey from day to day on Monjaro and throughout my journey of life with the family and all that. So it's good to be here tonight.
Thank you for joining us. The man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. 101, down 101 pounds. Geez, want to introduce yourself, please?
Hey man, I'm just G's 101, man. Just on this Zep bound journey for life, spreading the word and fighting a good fight.
Thank you. Thank you for joining. And the man himself, Prince Paul. You want
What's
to
going
introduce
on,
yourself?
everybody? It is me, Paul Amadeus Lane. To apologize for my voice. When I was with G's a couple of weeks ago, it was going out. It's starting to come back now. But gosh, can't believe this is month number 14 for me. So I started in February 2025. So yeah, month 14. I'm a lifer too. RMG, I remember when you asked me that question when you interviewed me. You said you'll be a lifer. I was like, I don't know, but yeah, I'm a lifer too, boss. And to go with that Crush Groove reference, what he says, whose house? RMG's house. That's where we are.
Nice. I had the pleasure of having dinner with Paul and his wife last night. Me and my wife went to go hang out and kick it with him last night and his wife. Had a good time eating some chicken and waffles. Um, so I want to thank you all for
Nice.
being here tonight. So we have a few topics. Some of them are interrelated. The first one I want to talk about, I want to preface this with saying there's a element of eating disorder in this first topic, and I want to preface this by saying that this isn't a discussion about the person with the eating disorder. This is about the access to the medication that she was taking a GLP-1 medication, and this was in the news last month. I think it was a reality star on the Real. I forget the name of the title of the show. It's the Real Housewives, Mormon Housewives of Salt Lake City, or something like that. And the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. And one of the ladies on the show, her name's Laura Taylor, and um, she recently came out and said that she was using the GLP-1 after having an eating disorder. So I definitely don't want to. It's not a punching bag. I'm not using her as a punching bag. That's eating disorder is a serious thing and it should be handled with care. What I want to focus on is how she got access to the medication. All right. So I'm gonna play this video here and let me find it real quick. All right, here we
It
go.
broke my heart to hear you open up about your struggles with eating disorders. We saw the girls trying to convince you to get off of GLP-1s, and you talk a bit about how easy it is to abuse weight loss drugs.
I weighed myself like 2 days ago and I was 99.
And you're like 5'10", 5'9". I mean, do you know that that's not super healthy?
What was the moment that you realized things had gotten unhealthy for you, and are you still taking GLP-1s?
I just hit a weight that wasn't good for like my body. I'm like 5'9", so anything under a certain amount's not healthy for your body. And I feel like I just was starting to notice the physical effects that come from being malnourished and underweight. But my eating disorder stems a lot further and a lot earlier than when I started to take GLPs. I've been struggling with an eating disorder since I was in high school. So this is a lot bigger than just me right now in the moment struggling with it. I didn't start using those honestly until recently. So yeah, it's a lot deeper than for me than just the GLPs. But yeah, I'm not on them anymore. But I still, just because the GLPs went away doesn't mean my eating disorder went away. So it's still something I'm actively
But
working
she
on.
has made a lot of progress.
Thank you.
She has.
All right, so the way you see her in that video is how I watched like half of the first season because there was a lot of scuttlebutt going around. You know, I like the drama of the show, so I watched half of the first season, and how you see her looking at video is how she looked in season one. I think they're on like season 4 or 5 now, and I think this came out um, earlier this year. So when you look at her, you can see, you know, just that's how exactly how she looked in season one, and you look at her and you wonder how she was able to gain access to the medication. Was there a provider that gave her a prescription for the medication? Did she get it on the gray market? Um, so what are your guys' thoughts on this? Anybody want to chime in on it?
Well, I guess I want to start off with a question because I've never used compounds, obviously. So, and I know some of y'all have. The typical up and up compound company, do they provide their own providers to get a prescription, or do you bring your prescription with you, or is it both ways?
They provide the prescription. It's generally they have a licensed provider that's going to write a prescription and send it to the compounding pharmacy to send the medication to you. So generally, if you're dealing with a reputable one, they're gonna give you get your labs, see and get your labs done, and get your weight and a medical history, just like you would going to see a normal doctor.
And I know, like with me, when I had to go on compound, I had to upload my labs, and they wanted labs that were like 3 months, 3 months or less. Had to give them my also show them a prescription that I was on Zepbound before. So I had to go into my Walgreens app, screenshot it, and show them that I was on it. So I had to jump through some hoops to get it. I feel sorry for her in the sense that there's something going on that really caused her to go down that route. And what kind of angers me is that there weren't any guardrails. However, she got it. If she got it from the black market or if she got it from an online pharmacy, there was something. There were some dots that weren't connected when she got these medications. And I'm just glad that it didn't cost her her life. Because some people, if they don't respect these medications and take them the way they intended to, it can really cause a lot of harm out there.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. She could have got it through telehealth that's acting like a pill mill, because there are definitely some of those out there. But if you're dealing with a reputable one, they're going to handle you with care. It could have been a med spa that functions as a pill mill essentially, or it could have been she got it as a off the gray market and constituted herself. So that brings a lot discussion on the oversight of the gray market and the damage that it can do. If if she got it from a licensed provider, then that licensed provider needs to be looked into for sure, and possibly have his or her license suspended.
And sometimes, when just in thinking about the whole situation and about access, because you have a full gamut of people from reputable name brand because she could have had an assistant. She could have had somebody else who picked it up for her, because a lot of times the people who are celebrity have people who are doing a lot of things for them. So they could have had paid the full price for the medication because that was not a barrier to access. So they could have sent an assistant to go and pick up the medication, no issue, no problem, and having it just at the ready. Or it could have been a family member's or somebody else's medication that people have access to. Because, if we're being honest, there are people who will pick up a prescription and somebody else will use it.
Yeah.
So the access is the issue, but it's so much more about, she was just one of the examples that came to the forefront. But in these spaces, there's so much pressure that is seen and unseen to live, to be, to act, to react a certain way, that if we're not careful, it could be any one of us.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you may say, for the first time in my life, I have something or a tool or access to a tool or something that will put me in a place that I've never been before. And obtaining that type of power can be something that, is like you are given a new superpower and you don't know the left and right limits.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we will see the people who are more in the forefront, but how many more people are hiding, or proud, or the celebratory, oh, you just lost X amount of weight, you look so good, and
Yeah.
nobody really looks at the price of what you did to get there.
Yeah.
Well, I want to say there's a lot to unpack there. I had to think about it for a little bit because I mean this is my first time hearing about it. Honestly, I was super busy, so I was trying to catch up with everything. I just pretty much read through it, and then watched the clip. I think that it's a lot deeper than just the GLP-1, right? She clearly had some mental instability there, and I think her issues are a lot deeper than GLP-1, right? We talking about GLP-1 here tonight, but no actuality, like Darium said, there may be several different things that she has access to that don't even really belong to her. It could be just fit. And again, people are enabling her most likely because of the access that she gives them just being around her. So I think that is like obviously GLP-1 is the easy target because she's visibly underweight and things like that. But that's a very big mental conversation, and I think that it's a cry for help. And the hope is that with her being on a national platform, that there are some individuals that are trained that can actually step in and help her in all the ways that she need help. But clearly, GLP-1 is just one of the things that she might need help with.
Yeah. Definitely. Definitely. I even know of some telehealth, and not just compounded telehealth, but telehealth with general practitioners. They'll have you video conference with them and actually weigh in with them on the video conference, so they can actually see you physically weighing in and what the scale says. So I think there's something to be said for that as well, so they can verify your weight and all of that.
But I think
And
I think that's us. But I think that's us assuming that that's the route. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
because
yeah,
again, like Darren said, she might not. She today in today's society, people don't have to actually compound telehealth. None of that. They can just get it from a family member that's getting it, that's not using it. You know what I mean?
yeah,
That's not using it because they feel like they may be a diabetic and using insulin pens and other things, but they also have access to the GLP-1, not use it and just give it to the other family member.
yeah, yeah. That's definitely possible.
Hundred
Um,
percent.
definitely. I'm kind of wondering though if she went through the gray market, so because it's so accessible there, and holistically, I'm wondering, and I'm throwing this out there not as a barrier for access, but I know when I went through the bariatric process, you had these hoops that you had to jump through in order to move forward with the surgery. You had to meet with a dietitian, you had to meet with a nutritionist, you had to have a psych eval before they let you move forward. Um, so I'm wondering if there's something to be said for doing some of those things when these medications are prescribed, because a lot of times, depending on the doctor that you're going to get, they're just going to write the prescription and let you go. and you go do your own thing. So there's a lot of education that patients are missing out on. And if you're doing like a psych eval, you can probably catch things like an eating disorder and things of that nature as well.
Yep.
You know, RMZ, you made a very good point. It's a well-known fact, and I love this Dr. Now, right? So,
Yeah,
one thing I love about watching 600 Pound Life is when he's sitting under Lola or Dr. Paradise.
yeah,
You know, because I think there's some underlying factors. You know, I think with all of us who struggle with obesity,
yeah,
that would help us that would really benefit us if we talk to people like a psychiatrist. You know, about things that are triggers. You know, because I consume a lot of YouTube content when it comes to these GLP-1 streets, and I'm not a healthcare professional. I'm not trying to judge anybody, but it's quite obvious who I think, in my opinion, could benefit from some psychiatric help. You know, just
yeah,
to help them on in this journey because there's some things going on that I think a medical professional to be able to help them unpack and put them in the right frame of mind to succeed so they won't hurt themselves. And, sometimes, we're in this journey and we do things and we talk about it, we put it on video. Those things can hurt ourselves. So I'm like, why don't we talk to someone who can help us get our mentals right, help us to focus. And that's just me, and that's just my opinion. I just know when I've talked to ones in the past, about my mental status. It really helped me out, So that's just me. That's me talking.
yeah, definitely. All right. So keeping along this kind of same thing uh, with gray market and retatrutide or Retta that's on the market now, and the growth of peptides in general. There's a doctor that I follow on Instagram, and she posted this video that I'll share right now. There is I'll just play the video and we can talk about it.
We need to declare Facebook MLM mom groups as a national health crisis. My Facebook account has been disabled for weeks, and I'm a board-certified doctor. Listen to who does get to be on Facebook.
This message is specifically for Utah moms. If you are a mom that's excited about trying peptides and you are open to injecting yourself and trying something that you got from your neighbor or your friend who sent you a website that had a pop-up when you clicked on it, but you're also weary and skeptical of your kids getting the measles vaccine. The state has a measles outbreak while all the moms are on Redefining. What are we doing?
Every single day, my DMs are flooded with screenshots from these Facebook groups. These people are not licensed clinicians, but they are selling research peptides. During the worst measles outbreak in 30 years, people in the MLMs have no idea what's actually in these peptides. The people buying them have no idea what's in these peptides. Mark my words, we're going to be talking about this in a couple years. The massive corporations who own the social media platforms obviously get to decide who gets to have a voice. Apparently they've decided that it's completely acceptable that Madison gets to post in her mom group on Facebook to 100,000 other people that she sells unregulated research peptides that are cure-alls. MLM Facebook mom groups are a national public health crisis because they are recommending medical care in the age of fear and evidence-based medicine and the experts.
All right. Who wants that one first? Nobody wants to touch that one?
I mean, honestly, I really think it's just a whole bunch of miseducation. You know what I mean? And it even kind of leans somewhat political, when they get into the immunizations and all that, I feel like people have willful ignorance sometimes, you know what I mean?
Mm,
And they go as far as supporting a certain cause or a certain party, by doing things or not doing things that they think, will go against, them showing support. And I mean, that whole measles thing was, kind of sad because, you got something that, is easily preventable. And you had, there's some cases where kids lost their lives, obviously. And I think that that's just unfortunate. So, I mean, it's just a whole bunch of miseducation and all around the board, with that kind of thing.
yeah. I thought it's funny that here she is as a board certified physician, and her account is suspended for talking about medical care. And this lady has uh, a mom's group where she's trying to set up this peptide thing. And I went and read the post, and she's trying to run a pyramid scheme. Seems like MLM, asking people for money to buy in to be a founder affiliate of this peptide company that she's trying to launch. And she has a history of numerous MLM things, so I'm not sure how she's continuing to get money for these things. But she's setting up these things, and they're selling this stuff on Facebook, and where a doctor is getting suspended, their account is suspended for talking about medical care. I just found that interesting.
I
Yeah.
think this just brings up the factor of how important it is for people like us to tell people, don't go to somebody you don't know is reputable. You have to go to these companies that go the right route, research, and don't just give out medicine for, I've said this on the last one we had, you have to go through your doctor. And if you do end up having to go on compound, I still recommend going to your doctor first to get that prescription, in my opinion. But in any case, this just shows how important it is as us as content creators to continue to get the word out there of how dangerous this is.
Yeah, that's a good point, G. Always tell your medical professional what you're doing so they can be aware. And, it's, Jen put a comment in, Dr. Jen, she put a comment in our chat about how these mommy groups are like gangs, gang banging. And it's true. I mean, it's like a cult kind of thing that's going on. And the fact that people are influenced by that. And I remember G's had a live not too long ago when he called us. He said, "We're not content creators, we're influencers." And that really kind of resonated with me because what G Money just said about we need to tell the truth about all these things. We have to influence people's thinking to help them to not hurt themselves in this journey. Because let's face it, somebody gets hurt on this journey. How many of our relatives gonna say, "Ain't you on that stuff too? Didn't they do that? Didn't do that?" And it's gonna make the whole community look bad. So we got to use our voice to tell the truth out there about these things, and just make sure that we speak the truth to power when it comes to our journeys.
Definitely.
And see, and that I guess I just have just a little of a different spin because having sat in and listened to some of these creators or some of these people who are dabbling in the gray market or the people looking for gray market compounds, there is different schools. You have the pushers who are pushing them. They're influencers who are influencing and telling you all the benefits and how you can get this and how doctors don't know this and how people don't know that and they don't have all the things and big pharma this and little pharma that will give you all of those things. But then you have the people who are talking about trying to get access to medications who constantly talk about the hoops and hurdles that they have to go through just to get it. The step therapies, they're going to their insurance, they're getting denied. It's going to cost them thousands of dollars, and they're trying to get access to this medication. And then it becomes such that they're getting sicker and sicker, and their condition is not getting better and better. And when do they get to a point where they stop asking, is the medication or is these peptides safe? And then start asking, will they work for me? Will they help me? Will I be out of this situation that I'm in right now? Because, a lot of times when people are selling, you hear one sided information. You don't hear the downsides. You just say they hear all the benefits. And when do people get to that particular point where they are more desperate than they are scared?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think
And I'm
there's a
gonna
lot
say,
of that going on. More people are more desperate than they are scared. The access, they can't. The insurance won't cover it, or they don't have insurance, or they can't afford the medication either through compound or the copays that they have to pay in order to receive the medication. So at that point,
hey,
out
hey,
of
Cap,
desperation, the gray market looks okay. They can see so and so is doing well on it, so I can go try it too.
And can I hop in on that too? Because Katie, you
Yeah.
make a very good point. It kind of reminds me of like you talked about RMZ MLM. I've been a part of a lot of MLMs who kind of tell you all the great things that happen if you take these products.
Yeah.
And it's because the people are desperate. People have tried the conventional medicine, they tried all these different things. But then they hear a story of somebody who may have the same kind of chronic illness that they're having. They're like, well, all I did was take these supplements, and in 6 months I was fine, I was cured. And when you're desperate, you're like, hey, I'm willing to try anything. So that's a good way to look at it, KD, because I didn't think about that before, but that's true. When somebody's desperate and don't know where to turn, they just trying to find the best way out of that situation.
I mean, those, remember that MLM that was selling people saran wrap, saying it was going to lose
Oh
weight
yeah,
for it, and that's how people were desperate for it.
Yeah.
People were actually buying it. What was it called, Rapid or something like that?
Wow.
yeah. And
Spending
they
a
had
lot
And
of
how
all
money.
many
those parties.
how many creators do you know or have heard them say we're never going back?
Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot.
I'm never going back. And some of them have gone far, or people you how many stories do you hear? I've lost access.
Yeah,
I've been on it, was working so well for me. Oh my goodness, I have this particular thing and they're moving me to this different medication. And then they got to go through and they find a modicum of success. And now you're telling them, stick to this and stick to that. Okay,
yeah,
let me be clear. I'm not justifying anybody to do anything that's going to be illegal or is going to be dangerous or going to go for research medications. I just want to explore. I just want to expand the conversation because sometimes we, in our, from our ivory towers, we can be sitting down and looking down on people, and people are out there hurting,
yeah,
and we are dealing with people who are living hurt for real. And
yeah,
I want us to at least be a space where they can go to and at least broach the conversation and not be dismissed because we don't want to hear the words black, gray, or compound.
yeah. Agreed.
When I think
Agreed.
all of us really want to care about people and make sure that people are okay.
Yeah,
You know, so Darian, with that, I mean, I'll take it back to my earlier sentiment, and that was, you know, this is obviously this is a GLP-1 community, but these conversations are much deeper, right? Because these things, there aren't just issues with access with GLP-1 treatments, right? I mean, I see people every day that there are other treatments that are too expensive too. You know, this is just what we talk about because this is what closely relates to our experience. But this starts at the top, you know what I mean? And I feel like with the GLP-1 community, if the physicians were on a regular basis more accepting to the treatment and actually were, more would promote it, and educate a little bit better, and people understood the medication and what it does, and what are the possibilities of what harm could be if you do it wrong. I think that people might have a different outlook, but they getting all the education, like you said, from their family members. Like I said, beyond the gray market, it's just like when you think about like the kids that overdose, like the teens, right? The teens that overdose usually done on their parents' medication. It's usually done on the parents' medication. They go right into they say, "Where'd you get these drugs from?" The medicine cabinet. I hear these stories all the time. You
yeah,
know what I mean? So this is that kind of thing where you definitely don't want to look down on people, but I think the education and the openness is not there from the medical professionals that actually interact with these individuals, whether it be their pharmacist, whether it be their physician, whether it be the person that they go see for physical therapy, whether they go to a counselor. These people are some in some ways cut off because of their own personal experience, especially with weight loss medication, because
yeah,
it's still heavily seen as a cosmetic treatment and not necessarily a drug for all the benefits that it actually offers.
And
that's,
I'm just hopping right quick what Jesus said. My mother-in-law, we've been trying to tell her about the GLP-1s, and I'll use that as an example. For a little over a year since we've been on it. And she asked her doctor about it one time, and the doctor was like, well, she wasn't an advocate for it. She was like, this is going to happen, that's going to happen, that. So to make a long story short, that doctor has now prescribed her GLP-1 to help her out with her inflammation, her weight, her A1C, and all these things. So the doctor saw, because we know the same doctor, the doctor saw the effect that it had on me, and it changed her mind now to advocate for, oh, this ain't that bad because I seen what it did for Paul. But like what Jeeves was saying, that doctor was dead set against it. I mean, she was just like, we don't know in a couple of years people are gonna have cancer, and I'm like, you don't know in a couple of years I'm gonna still be alive the way I was going. So I'd rather live happy and live more healthier the last couple of years than live 2 years and be in bad health. But it's just that narrative that the medical professionals have who are not down with these new conventional treatments out there. And GLP-1 is just one of them. We can probably go down the line and talk about other medications out there too, where old
Absolutely.
school doctors are not trying to change their mind to see some of the new things that are out there that can help us out.
We got the trolls out tonight, man. I'm banning a whole bunch of people.
Yeah, look, and I'm not paying attention to the thing. You got to get some more
Yeah.
swords. But hey, I just want to have a point of clarification. Geez, did you say that pharmacists can be part of somebody's care team? That they can go and ask the pharmacist about medications and medical questions about things they interact with each other? A resource that is free that they can use as part of their care team?
Every day. Every day. It's right at the patient consultation window.
Yeah, and I can co-sign on that. G's my pharmacist where I live. She's from Jamaica. She's really cool. She helped me out before and getting stuff passed. But every time I have a question, she'll let me know what's going on. I was having this respiratory problem, so I was like, "Can I take this for my GLP-1?" She said, "Yes, dear Lord, you can take it with your GLP-1, man. It won't help you. It won't." I was like, "Cool." So just getting that the education. Yeah, Katie, I've seen that, man. They're out there to help. It's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, people see their pharmacist way more than their doctor in most cases, right? Because your doctor you're gonna see annually and for sick visits. Your pharmacist you see every 30 months or every month or every 3 months based on, the your prescription, or unless someone else is picking it up. But then you have what pharmacies do, which are called CMRs and TMRs, right? Comprehensive medical reviews, and TMRs, which is targeted medical reviews. These are things that calls are made to individual patients daily, based on medication. And during that time, and this is where the pharmacy landscape actually makes money outside of sold scripts, because if those most people might not realize, but the pharmacies aren't making money on selling prescriptions like they used to. What pharmacies make money on now are what we call MTMs, CMRs, TMRs, and offering personalized services, right? Offering the personalized services is where the money comes in at, because now at most pharmacies, you can actually do all of these things from A to B. You can sign up, get all the information, and through telehealth, get your GLP-1 or whatever else you need right there in that pharmacy, because that's where the profit is based on outcome and not necessarily drugs sold. That's just a misperception that people come pick up scripts, you sell it, and then that's where the money is made. No, the money is actually made through consultation and service.
Wow.
The profit, I should say.
Yeah.
Profit, not sales, profit.
So, G Money, what we're gonna do now at the end of our videos, y'all. Talk to your pharmacist. Yeah, ask all kind of questions.
You should. You
That's
should.
all.
It's
That's
it's
all we'll do. You know.
it's a free resource.
Yeah.
And obviously, I just want to say this. That I guess it probably goes without saying, but none of this discussion is meant to bash anyone that has made the choice to go to the gray market and do what they need to do. We're not advocating for anyone doing that, but if that's what you're going to do, please consult your doctor, or do your research. Do some testing. There's companies that do testing to make sure that the peptide is pure and all of that. So take the steps to make sure that you are being as safe as possible. But again, not advocating and definitely not bashing anyone. But that leads me into this next story. I found this the other day. Make sure I don't need to ban somebody else before I move over.
I'm glad you said that, RMG, because I was about to send back my gray market Retta. You was talking about me so bad. I was about to send it back. No, I'm just joking. I ain't send it. Yeah.
All right, so I found this story the other day. I think this was in Carolina. This was a man who injected himself with Retta. He's a 32-year-old man, came to the ED because he had injected himself with Retta and had uncontrollable diarrhea. He self-administered a 10 milligram subcutaneous dose weekly for several weeks. And I'll just point out he started at 10 milligrams. I believe that Retta in clinical trials starts at 2. And I think the max dose is
12.
9 and 12. And
12.
then
12.
yeah, and they don't even have a 10 dose. They go from 9 to 12. He injected himself, and then he had diarrhea and accidentally repeated. I'm sorry, he injected himself with 10, and then he went up to 20 and started having diarrhea, and then forgot that he actually took the dose, the 20 milligrams before, and then took another 20 milligram dose. So he presented to the emergency department with low potassium, low sodium. He was dehydrated, and he was showing signs of kidney injury. And so after taking an extra dose of retatrutide, the patient said he was having bowel movements roughly every 20 to 30 minutes, with up to 30 episodes the day before he came to the ED. His stools were watery with no mucus or blood present. And what the doctor says is as for what might have happened if the patient had not come into the ED, the doctor said that the concerns were myriad, including electrolyte disturbances that could have led to coma and cardiac arrhythmias. So that's one of the dangers of taking these medications without being under the guidance of a licensed medical professional. And he did. Not only that, he was self-administering the dose, just made up the dose to start taking from the start. And then he doubled that dose from 10 to 20, and then took another 20 the next day because he forgot that he took it the day before. So he's lucky to be alive. What are you guys' thoughts on this?
That's a wild circumstance. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like this guy, I don't know if he had a death wish or what. I mean, what he was trying to accomplish. I mean, number one, weight treatment does take some time. You know what I mean? With the way he was dosing, I mean, it's hard to. There's a lot of details that are missing. You know what I mean? It'll be hard to. I mean, I'd love to hear it. You know, from him, but I'd say the same thing. You know what I mean? This is because of all the gatekeeping and the information that's not being said. Like I say on my channel, I talk about Reddit because not because I'm ever going to be a user, but just because I know people are already using it, and I just try to let them know, what that looks like. I think right now we are learning that with the court cases that they're trying to make it a biologic, and obviously like you alluded to, Charles, it'll be a step drug, where you're not going to pretty much just wake up, go to a doctor and they say, hey, here's Retta. You'll probably receive that if you actually been on something like terzepatide, and it might have probably didn't give you the results you needed. It didn't work for you, or either you're just at a point where a physician feels like you actually need it. It's that powerful. And with that, I think it'll be so expensive that it'll probably be out of touch. So we're going to see a lot more of this. But what I hope is that, like I just said, the physicians stop being so standoffish, because it hasn't ended. We still got so many physicians. And Paul said old school, but it's not even old school, Paul. It's the young physicians too, who still see weight loss as just cosmetics, and it's very dangerous. And I just hope people actually seek individuals they trust, people like we're just influencers, not necessarily physicians for everyday visits, anything like that, but at least like get a roadmap to like somebody that can help them so they don't make mistakes like this. So it was good RMZ actually brought this up. so that way we could actually talk about it, open the conversation, and then let people know, what proper dosing might look like if you do get that on, the gray market. Because what he did was actually, something that I don't even think a child would do. It's
Yeah,
beyond ridiculous.
yeah, yeah. And I'm seeing a lot of people um, not only take Retta, but they're taking, um,
They stacking.
yeah, they're stacking. So they may be taking Zepbound along with Retta, and
Yes.
they're saying they're doing that. A few of them are saying that they're doing that because they don't get the appetite suppression from Retta itself, so they have to
Hmm.
take Zepbound in order to get that appetite suppression. So that's one key indicator that this gray market Retta is not the same as what's being used in the clinical trials, because appetite suppression is very big in the clinical trials. A lot of them, a lot of people were saying that the suppression was superior, and while using Retta, the branded Retta. Um,
Yeah.
so, and people are also having different side effects than what the clinical trials were showing as well. So that's just something to be aware of.
Yeah, it's extremely common in the research side that the Retta, well, that's what's said in that community, is that you don't get the appetite suppression that you get with the tirzepatide. Even though I guess, because most of us know by now with tirzepatide being GLP and GIP, that is primarily a GIP. With the Retta, it's all three, but I think that GLP is, so it's dampened quite a bit, right? Because it might be squeezed out to make it make sense, not out but squeezed down. And more fat oxid, you get more fat oxidation, more of that energy expenditure than anything, and I guess with them adding the TERS, and this is why I don't really like the microdosing that's actually being talked about in these black market, gray market, because it makes people feel safe to actually, compound, their medications on their own, adding 3 and 4, peptides at a time, and what they call stacking. And I feel like it's very dangerous because people don't think about the half-life of most serums. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
even when we take our shot, day 5, we still got half of, our dose sitting there, even though we have less of an effect. So if you compound in these microdosing, and a lot of microdoses are microdosing, pretty much like every other day or even daily if they don't take it together. So they constantly, hitting receptors. It's such a big conversation. I mean, we could be all night on that.
yeah,
Mm. I wish I could say that this conversation was strictly for gray market or for Retta, because as people have gone through, and I guess I've been in too many places that where people are, if they're going to compound, we'll use compound as an example, and there people are talking about units and not talking about the amount of your dosage. And sometimes people are misdosing or saying that I thought I was supposed to take X amount of units. I was supposed to take 10 units and take 20 units, and you taking 20 milligrams, then you're overdosing yourself on that. You have people who I've seen who have had conversations. Well, I took my medication on Monday and I'm not feeling anything, and it's Wednesday. Can I take my shot? Or, hey, I took another shot because I thought that it wasn't working. And this is on branded. So people are with different misinformation or having different expectations or having guidance or having influences from all around, are doing several different things, all for various reasons, but just to make it simple, if they're chasing a particular result. And how do you convey to people about the safety and how powerful these medications really are? Even with, you can abuse branded, you can abuse compound, you can abuse gray market, or whatever you have access to based on what your outcomes or what your decisions are.
yeah. Agreed. Agreed.
And then I think that what we have did a poor job of defining. I think everywhere, everybody is what success looks like, right? Because most people still have this perception in their mind that, you know, to be successful, I need to lose a certain amount of weight, or, and thinking that, total weight loss is equivalent to actual optimal health when it's not. You can lose weight and still be unhealthy. You know what I mean? Like, if you're not losing the fat, you know what I mean? Like, you can still have a ton of visceral fat and don't know it. You got people, I did that short and a whole video on, DEXA scans and getting the proper scales to actually know what you're chasing. I was, even myself, like, I'm thinking I got more body fat than I do, and I'm chasing numbers that aren't even accurate. So, and I'm, and I know better, but I'm just saying, a lot of people, we get caught in the matrix of, okay, well, let's just get 100 pounds down. Like, everybody chasing those digits and not necessarily, measuring, what their actual body is. So I say all that to say, they go in and get rid of these other things to try to look for success based on aesthetics, and not actual true health. And you're going farther than you probably need to, because you might already be healthy.
Yeah. Agreed. All right. I think we're good on that. We can move on to
Mm-hmm.
the questions. There were some people that posted on the community posts. This one was long. This is from Lovely One, and wasn't a question per se, but I think she had heard us talking about TRT, and she sent me a note about her son. So this is Lovely One. I think I saw her pop up in the chat not too
Yeah,
long
yeah,
ago.
she did. I saw that too. Yeah,
Yeah,
I definitely did. Yeah.
yeah. So she reached out to me about her 19-year-old son, and this is more of a PSA. And I didn't put it on the screen, but it's long, so I just want to hit the points of it. She has a 19-year-old son who's in college, and he tested he did a testosterone test, and his numbers came back at 309, which is low, especially for a 19-year-old man. You think about the low range is generally considered anything under 300, so he's right there on the borderline. So he would technically qualify in the mind of some doctors that he's testosterone deficient, despite his free testosterone being low as well. And that's still his free testosterone was 59.9, but it didn't meet the cutoff as well. But someone at 19 probably should have testosterone close to about 1,000, maybe. His A1C was up to 6, and he was 5'10", and over the span of 4 to 5 months in college, he gained 60 pounds. I'm sorry, 40 pounds. He went from 180 to 220. And they come to find out, he had a span of 2 to 3 years where he was sluggish, he was unmotivated, he was depressed. He still managed to keep his grades up. He did well in school. He was the best player on his team, his basketball team, but he gave that up because he just wasn't feeling motivated to do it. Sign of low testosterone, a symptom of that. His LH hormone and his FSH hormone were great, so he wasn't having any hypogonadism where his pituitary gland wasn't telling his body to produce the testosterone. It just he wasn't producing enough of it. Come to find out, the cause of his low testosterone was vitamin D deficiency, something I didn't know can cause low testosterone. And what I found out is that there are vitamin D receptors in the testes, and with low vitamin D reduces production of total and free testosterone. So they got him on testosterone or vitamin D supplements to get his vitamin D up. So his testosterone is jumping up. So his vitamin D was 14, and I believe you want to be at the low point is 30. So he was well below the low point. So it's just a reminder that if you have a kid out there who's showing these signs, low drive, depression, lack of motivation, sluggish, being showing these signs, that possibly go get them checked not only for testosterone but get them checked for vitamin D, because that might be the source of the low testosterone if they do come back with low testosterone. And this young man lives in Florida, so it's not like he's in a northwest state where there's not a whole lot of sun. He's living in a state that has a lot of sun in it, but I believe he's darker complected. He's a young black man, so he may not absorb a lot of the vitamin D from the sun like others will. And if you're living in the north, in somewhere like the Pacific Northwest, you may want to supplement with vitamin D anyway, because there's not a whole lot of sunlight year round like there are in most other states. So I just found that was pretty interesting. And I appreciate Lovely 11 for sending that to me. That was a great eye opener. I had no idea at all. And I've been studying testosterone for the last 4 or 5 months, and that never popped up until she mentioned that. I went to go look at it and said, "Oh, I can see it now." That's great. So thank you for that, Lovely 11. Appreciate you. So we got some more. Perfectly Pamela sent some to Paul on Paul's post, and one of her questions was, if another man was thinking about starting a GLP-1 but felt hesitant or embarrassed, what would you want him to hear from you? Anyone want to capture that?
I'll tell him, man up. No, I'm just joking. I wouldn't say that. No, I would have I would have a heart to heart with him, and ask him, what are some of the things that's causing hesitation, and really hear him out, because it takes a lot for a man to open up in the first place. So I wouldn't want to make him feel bad for coming and talking about it, but just ask him, say, hey, I've been on it. This is what it's done for me. You know, it may do the same for you, but everybody's different. But it changed my life, and I'm glad that I did it. That's what I would say to him.
I would ask them several questions, because I don't think GLP-1s are for every individual that wants to get on it, right? Because GLP-1 in most cases is more than likely a lifelong, commitment, right? So I would like to ask, a little bit about his history, see where he is, and see if he actually is suffering from the disease of obesity, or, is he an individual that, may just need, better nutrition, and a way to, figure out how to do things, to be more healthy. Because I think that's something that us in the GLP-1 community have to be careful of as well, is thinking everybody that comes up to us belongs on the GLP-1. They might not, because people that actually stop the medicine and actually keep the weight off, which is rare, they probably never needed a GLP-1, because they have the ability to actually lose weight and keep it off. Whereas other individuals like us, right, we've tried that and failed that, over and over and over again, and we've learned that we actually do have the disease of obesity. But everybody that's in a larger body does not necessarily have the disease of obesity.
Massey Metal, G Money, anything?
Well, that's a good point, Geez. I mean, a lot of times when people come to us, we assume they've already went to their doctor and know, "Oh, I need to be on this," and all that. We can't assume that for sure. Um, and another perspective on this would be, I know a lot of men just don't want to take medicine at all. Well, if you have something that your doctor says you need, don't hesitate, take it. You wouldn't hesitate. Well, some might, but you don't hesitate as much on blood pressure or cholesterol medicine or anything like that. So don't hesitate to take this if you've been told that it would help your situation. Um, and the embarrassment part's a whole nother perspective as well. But you know, uh, when it comes down to it, they have to shift their perspectives and say, all right, am I going to be too embarrassed to help myself or move forward? And you finally have to get that mindset. I got to do what I got to do for me.
As somebody who spent a lot of my experience coming from the embarrassed and the hesitant side, from the one whose the first part of my journey was fueled by shame, and somebody who suffered in silence because of all of these self-inflicted things that I put on myself, I get the hesitation and the embarrassment. And then I had to come to a point where I had to realize, am I going to embarrass myself or be shamed for myself for me not getting healthy? Or was it worth not taking the next step? So what I would want to say to them is just consider another choice.
Yeah.
We can't tell you what to do because you're the one if you're going to step into it, you're going to be the one that's going to have to live it, the ups and the downs, when it gets tough, when it gets boring, when it's fun, you're going to be the one that's going into it. But look at these other men, all who have had different experiences on it, and just leverage it for yourself. Reach out to these guys who you see who are here on the panel and in this community, and just send them a note, send them a message, comment to them if you have some questions. You're anonymous; they don't know who you are, and just send them a note if you have a question about things like that. And look at them and see, hey, is this a possibility? Is this something that you can at least try? Because to G's point, there are more therapies available than GLP-1s, depending upon what your particular comorbidity is. And I understand. I'll speak from my community or how I grew up. We didn't like no medicine. Everything that we talked about was bad. Why are you taking that pressure medicine? Drink you some vinegar. Why are you going to eat this and that? And why your cholesterol is down? You need to stop this. Stop all that salt. So they had something to say about everything. That you should not be on here. You should be eating grass and you should be floating. But here's that fried chicken. Another story. So it's just saying that you should have all of these things in place, and the medicine is the biggest enemy. So there's stigma that goes along with all of that. But one of the things that I realize is that more shame and more trying to be tough on somebody is not going to be the thing that pushes them towards health. You can't you can't hate somebody to health, but you can show them that there are other options.
Yeah, Darren, I just wanted to add one quick point. I mean, obviously, we're going to assume that with these questions, the person was probably, evaluated, and this was probably the treatment possibly suggested. So, but the reason why I went where I went with it is because I think that again, we're in the GLP-1 community. This is what we talk about heavily. But what I would like to do is we just talked about the responsibility, in the community of actually making sure that people take, the appropriate steps to source medicine appropriately. I also would like people to take the appropriate steps to get the appropriate testing, because I think that sometimes we stop short of evaluating everything for the fear of, actually finding out, what's really going on. Like we just talked about, the young man with the low testosterone and finding out that, he had a vitamin D deficiency. And that's the thing. I don't want to blanket, health with, GLP-1. I would like people to actually get thorough evaluations and actually get treated with the appropriate medication, for their particular issue. So that way, they have the best outcome possible.
Great. That's great follow up there. All right, next question from Pam. There can be a lot of stigma using medications like GLP-1s. Have you experienced that personally, and how do you handle it? I think for me, I'll start. I think for me, there was a lot of stigma, and going back to the last question, embarrassment that I was dealing with when I first started. That's why I kept it a secret. This wasn't supposed to be me. I'm an all-star, all-American athlete, and I look at my pictures of my glory years, and I'm subconsciously thinking I'm still that guy. And I look in the mirror and I see I'm not that guy, and I did X, Y, Z to get my health together and get my weight off, and nothing was working. So I turned to a GLP-1, and I didn't want the embarrassment of not being able to accomplish something that I set my mind to, that have that stigma of failing, where in most of my life, the things that I set my mind to, I hadn't failed. I was successful, I had a successful career, wife and kids, um, successful college and high school career in athletics. And this is something that I couldn't lick for decades. I couldn't turn it around for some reason, and I didn't know why. Now I know why. I had a dysregulation because of the disease of obesity, and I think you just have to work through that and understand that getting healthy is the most important thing. It's the most important gift that you can give to yourself and to your family to make sure that you're there for them. Someday I want to walk my wife, I mean, not my wife, I want my daughter down the aisle for her wedding. I want to do that father-daughter dance. I want to be here to do that. I want to see my grandson grow up. So that's more important to me than what some idiot on the internet thinks about me.
For sure, for sure. Yeah.
And for me, I didn't handle it well. So when someone came up with a stigma with me, and they were struggling with obesity too, they were like, "Oh, I can't do that. I just did it." And I'm like, "So you want me to do what you're doing? How's that working out for you?" I didn't handle it the right way. I'm learning, y'all. I'm trying to not be as messy as I normally am, but I'm learning. So when someone questioned me about it the other day, I was like, well, of course there's good and bad stigma about anything everybody does, and I just let them know what my experience is and how it's working out for me. But really, at the end of the day, I don't owe nobody no explanation. So it all depends on who the person is, and if I feel that the person is going to get some education from me and what I'm saying, then I'll talk with them. But if it's somebody who's just trying to be messy, somebody who's just trying to start a fight, I just keep it moving and don't even engage.
Yeah, I think the good thing now is that I think we kind of like moving to a point where uh I mean, like even our community, like it's starting to be a thing where it's kind of like cool to be on. You know what I mean? And I'm happy about that because I think that just as early as like let's say 2 years ago, it was a thing where people where you got to like think like, okay, well, should people know that we're utilizing this? But I think we fast forwarded to a space where a lot of the cool kids are actually able to use this. The cool kids are the ones that actually use this medication and looking better, and got people saying, well, how'd you do it? You know what I mean? I think the stigma is there, it's still some out there, but I think there's enough people now that champion it to where it's not really a bad thing. It's actually something you can be proud about.
Anyone else want to
You
crack at
know,
that
I,
one?
I I haven't really got a lot of disapproval of it at the beginning. I had a couple, wanting me to do it the more natural way. I mean, okay, whatever, but that's their opinion. I want to take the medication I need to take for my health, but the more disapproval I'm getting now is towards the end of the weight loss journey and getting close to my goal and saying that I'm losing too much. And are you still in that shot? You need to go off that shot. You're too small now. And I'm like, I kind of step back from it, and then I just go into my doctor says I should be this and all this, so that's what I'm going to do. But it just boggles my mind how I'm getting that more now than I did at the beginning. More disapproval looks, and you know, I don't know. It's just it's weird.
Yeah,
Well, see, that ties
you
back
know what?
into story number one
Yeah.
about getting to what is going to be to a point where what does healthy look like?
Hmm.
What
Yeah,
is too far?
yeah.
I mean, I know that everybody on this panel wants to get to 184.5 like G's,
Yeah, like
but
geez, yeah, yes we do.
I know that's everybody's goal to get there, but what is going to be too far? And you know, those are all personal choices, and when do external factors kind of cause you to change your trajectory. That's good, So now, having been somebody who has flew under the radar for most of this particular journey, and having surrounded myself with lots of different experiences and different information, I think I've come to a place now where I'm coming from a more empowered stance, and that somebody may have a mindset of disapproval about what I'm doing. And that is 100% their business. And it's none of my business if you disapprove of my choices. That ain't my business. It's up to me it's up to me to take what you say. And I don't know you that well. So, there's different things that I'm learning from a place of power, where kind of flying under the radar, it was a benefit for me to prepare me to be more secure in. Then when I start getting to those transformation phases, that I'll be a little more prepared.
I think women got it a lot tougher than us, believe it or not. With as far as the stigma around like the actual final results, and the unfortunate part about it is, I think that a lot of our women are actually still staying at an unhealthy weight sometimes, just for the pleasure of having certain looks for maybe their male counterpart, which allows them to still remain obese to still have a certain shape. You got a lot of female. I see it all the time. They'll be 6 months in and be like, "Oh, I've reached my goal. I'm about to go into maintenance." And I'm like, "Wait a minute." You know what I mean? Because it's like, I lost enough. But for who? Like, you know what I mean? What does that look like? Have you talked to your physician? You're doing this based on aesthetics, and you don't want to lose your bottom. You know what I mean? To appease to the guy that's looking for this BBL look. When in all actuality, you actually still got some weight to lose. So I'm seeing a lot more of that than anything, and that's why I think that the women, honestly, have it even harder than us guys. Yeah, we get a few people that might say you're getting a little slim there, a little skinny, stuff like that. But I think the women got it a lot harder because a lot of time it's coming from the home front.
And a lot of that got to do with them. Whoever's saying that is not secure the way they look, and they want you to look the way you used to look because
And
they
preference.
were looking. Yeah, and
And
it's funny.
preference.
Like, yeah, 'cause I know Randy Days went through that too. Like one of his friends, like, "Oh, you getting too skinny? Your face getting too skinny." And I sit there like, "You haven't seen her DEXA scan. You don't know where the goal is." And I'm just happy that she doesn't allow that to deter her from her goal that she's trying to do. But people think they help her when they say stuff like that. But it's like, keep that to yourself. I don't want to hear about that.
It's happening heavy, man. Heavy.
Yeah.
We got an extra panelist that showed up
Oh,
with her cone of shame.
hey. So did she go to the vet today?
Huh?
Did she go to the vet today?
Yeah. She had a steroid injection or something. I think my wife said in her eye. She had a bump on her eye. So she got the cone of shame.
Uh-oh.
All right. Next question. We speed through these. Before starting a GLP-1, what were some of the beliefs or misconceptions you had about weight, health, or even medication, and how have those changed? Anyone got an answer for that?
That I was gonna get the Ozempic booty, but here's the here's the thing. I already had an Ozempic booty, so it didn't really bother me. But I would just say the misconceptions that the medication was going to do all the work. That was the misconception that I had to grapple with because when I got on the medication, my 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 physician assistant didn't tell me what to eat and what to do with it. So I was having this medication. I thought it was all it was. But then as I went to the YouTube streets, met King Darian, started following you, RMZ, and others out there, and I realized what I had to do to really be successful in this, get the protein in and do all this and work along with the medication. And that's what really changed me because in the beginning, I thought the medication was going to do everything.
Anyone else?
I guess my main misconception when I was still heavier was that I was okay. I like to eat what I want to eat. I feel all right. I mean, and at that point, my perception was that. But now, obviously, after I know I was not okay, and that was one of the most personal misconceptions in my mind. I'm all right, but then the blood work and all that shows a lot differently too, and you just finally got to get that through my thick skull.
To your point, Grant, I did not know I was feeling as badly as I was feeling until I started feeling better.
Yeah,
I
excellent
think the
points.
biggest misconception I had was when I actually started the medication because I didn't think it would work. I didn't think it would work that good. You know what I mean? I had no respect. I tell everybody all the time, I said, when I started this medication, I can't believe how disrespectful I was with it. I just had no faith in it. Like, you know what I mean? I think I was just so, like, used to failing at, losing, respectable amount of weight. When I had started that 2 point, that first month was literally like a blur. I took 4 pens and hardly even remember taking them because I literally had no thoughts about other than my very first one because I had never took a pen. So taking that first one was like woof. But after that, it got easier. But again, I just didn't. In that month I lost 15 pounds. So I mean, it just so not until February did had to stop and look back. Like, man, I mean, this stuff really worked, and boom, the rest was history. But yeah, I had no respect for the medication when I first started.
And that's partly why I didn't even tell anybody for probably the first few months, anyways, because I didn't believe it was going to work for me either. So why say anything to anybody if it's not going to work? But
Yeah.
thankfully, I was wrong.
Because the haters was waiting, right? Right, G Money is waiting for the sexy. I told you it would work.
All right, next question from Perfectly Pam. Was there a moment you realized I need help with this, and what made you finally take that step?
I can go first. When I went to the doctor and she said I was gonna have a heart attack in 10 years, it was a 70% chance. So when she said that, I said, whoa, I said, I gotta do something. Literally, that was the moment because I had been, overweight, for several visits, well, I want to say clinically obese, I should say. But it was just like, it wasn't something I was really worried about until that moment when she said that it was heavy because I don't think they had did the cardiovascular test, before then. And even though I had already had the irregular heartbeat, that particular test within itself, and hearing that was actually something that just like woke me up. I don't know about that. It was just like that moment, you know what I mean? Like hearing that diagnosis and her saying that, I was like, that can't happen. You know what I mean? I got a 5-year-old, a little baby, and I was like, I can't be out of here in 10 years. You know what I mean? So I was like, you know what? Right here, right now, I'm doing something, and like the rest was history. It's just amazing what that sentence did for me.
Well, it was turning 40 for me because, I just started thinking what the doctor had told me at 28 years old because my dad died of a heart attack at 47. So I said, I need to get checked out at that point. And he says, if you keep doing what you're doing, you will probably be dead in 20 years. And, but my thick skull again, I just didn't think it was a big deal. I'm going to eat how I want to eat. I'm going to enjoy life as I want to with my eating habits. And, but then, another factor was seeing my wife, Christy, how she really started to feel better with her own weight loss. And, I've said before, she showed me by doing, not by preaching. So, um, I, that just all kind of come together in just an aha moment at my birthday party at 40. I'm like, yeah. And that very next day is when I went to the doctor, and that's when I finally realized I need help with this. Definitely.
And I would say for me was January of 2025. I went to the doctor because I was having a respiratory issue like I'm having now, and my physician assistant, she broke out the wheelchair scale and said, I need to get your weight. And I was like, I'm coming here to get some of them pearls. And geez, you know what them pearls are, right? To help you cough. I forget what they call them. But I was just
It's
trying to get
it's
some of
like
them pearls.
it's like benzenoid. It's benzenoid.
Yeah. Yep, that's all I wanted to get my pearls, man, and keep it moving. So when I got on the scale, she took me back to her room, and she's always joking around with me, but this time she had a very serious look on her face, and she said, "We got to do something about your weight." And it hit me like, "What do you mean?" So I'm gonna put you on something, and I'm like, "Put me on what?" And that's when it hit me how severe it was because she never came at me like that. She saw how my respiratory breathing was at that time, and she was like, "We got to do something." And that's what I was my call, and I said, "I got to do it."
All right, last question from Pam. How has your life changed beyond the scale since starting, mentally, emotionally, or even in your relationships?
Okay, so I'll take that. I'll start that one. So for me, what has changed for me is my mindset has changed dramatically on this particular journey because of the my particular journey, I had to realize that my expectations and my reality were misaligned. And I could go through this entire journey commiserating, being upset, being mad, or just plain stubborn the entire time, or I could live life. I can enjoy the moments. I can enjoy the rain and the sunshine. And I found out more about myself on this health journey than I have in the rest of my years because I took the time to listen to me and put my needs before the needs of somebody else in a way that was more self full and not selfish.
I feel like that question though, for most people, it sounds so final. You know what I mean? Like for me, I feel like I'm still in it. You know what I mean? I feel like I'm still finding out, learning, and discovering. People ask that a lot. Well, how has it changed? Yes, I lost over 100 pounds, but and beyond the scale, yeah, there are victories. You know what I mean? Smaller clothing, you can go in and buy, stuff right off the rack. Things like that. You can move a lot better, but it just there's no. I think that the finality is not there. Just yet, and then outside of like body dysmorphia, because I know we all, kind of experienced that at a time, on this. I still think that mentally, a lot of us still got to catch up to what that really is. You know what I mean? Because we still, for some of us, like we're still like knee deep in that journey.
And I would say for me, I'm learning different levels of my mentality and my emotional self. Because sometimes mentally, I have the Mamba mentality, and Charles, you know what the Mamba mentality is,
Mhm.
and sometimes that makes me a little more strict when it comes to everything. Where I'm just like perfection. I'm trying. I got to do this, but that's not sustainable. I know I cannot. I cannot accept. I cannot expect perfection of me or even others. So I'm learning to have a balance when it comes to that. And when it comes to me being emotionally, I feel a lot more confident now. When I go into rooms, I'm not concerned if people's looking at my hot dogs in the back of my neck. I'm not concerned if people are looking how big my stomach is. Even though I still got a long way to go, my visceral fat, but I'm learning to love myself and to be okay with the way that I look. And when it comes to my relationships, it's helping me to see who the real ones are. I think my smell test has gotten a lot more sensitive since I've been on this journey where I can see who's fake and see who's real when it comes to my journey. And are they really down for me? Are they really there to help me out? Are they understanding me? Are they really in my corner? And I will say this, you guys on this panel, you guys are the real ones. I consider you all in my corner, there for me, not afraid to call me out when you need to. And I don't get that with everybody, but I get that with y'all. And this journey has helped me to see who I can trust and put into my close circle of friends when it comes to this journey.
Agreed.
Ditto, brother. Ditto, brother.
Absolutely. And I would just say for me, it's been getting my confidence back. It's been a long time
Yes.
coming. So,
Yeah, confidence for me too, and just being willing to do things now. You know, before I didn't want to do anything. Just sit back and do nothing. But just having that energy and the mental capability of saying, I can do things now. Let's do it.
all right, we're going to go to some questions from the chat. Now, um, before we get to there, I want to acknowledge a super chat from Jerlene.
Jerlene is awesome. I love me
Yeah.
some Jerlene. Jerlene is a
Yeah, she's
sweetheart.
supportive.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
Geraldine's
mean,
definitely supportive. Shout out to
you know,
Geraldine. She's supportive. She be in all the comments and the videos. She be watching.
yeah, and geez, I second that, man, because I mean, she is like one of those who are really supportive, and there's quite a few out there. And Jerlene, we just want to celebrate you and salute you for what you do, Jerlene. You're amazing.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jerlene. I appreciate you always showing up and supporting not just me, but the others in the community. Um, so, hat off to you. Appreciate you. And now, I think we have a few questions from the chat itself. Lovely one wants to know, what do you think? No longer have any grace for doctors who are not well versed on GLP-1s. It's very frustrating for them to let their personal opinion or ignorance guide patient treatment. I think we've all run into that as of late.
Yeah. That's classic. I mean, right now, I think that it needs to be and again, it comes from the top. I think that a lot of practices should make it mandatory that at the very least they do some continuing education on the very basics of the GLP, well, obesity. Let's say obesity. I
Yeah,
mean, you got to believe in the disease before you believe in the treatment. So I
yeah,
say let's start with obesity first. Understand it, to the best of their ability, and then look at the treatment. But there needs to be continuing education with individuals that are not necessarily obesity doctors, just so they can kind of meet their community, where they are. They can't just usher people in and offer them flu shots and they clearly, severely overweight and, stand to actually, be immunocompromised for, certain things, because realistically they're trying to treat all around one of the most major problems due to ignorance.
agreed.
Me, one of the things that I've learned in this community, and I am a huge advocate for, is expanding your care team. There's nothing that says that you cannot add a doctor who has a specialty in GLP-1s, or somebody who can help manage your endocrine issues, your obesity, any other chronic illness, to add to your care team, because you may have a wonderful primary care physician who knows your entire history, and they may be able to give you your flu shot or whatever. But there's nothing wrong with you adding to the team for somebody who can help you along your journey, be able to answer your questions and be able to help navigate that as well. So you don't necessarily have to fire your primary doctor. You could just add to the team.
Yeah. All right. Great question, lovely one. All right, my man Kevin, guest from a few weeks ago.
Kevin Kev.
He wants to know, can someone explain how peptides are parallel GLP-1s? Do they work similarly?
Geez, go ahead and take that.
So I mean, peptides are a different conversation. I mean, obviously, we're talking about amino acids, but um, it depends on the peptide that you're talking about. But no, they're very different. It's almost like when we talk about the pills, right? Those are monotherapies, So each one is its own. Now, if we talk about tirzepatide at its source, yeah, they're going to be grouped in. but they're also very different. That I would say we probably should leave them in their own class because they actually can be multiple agonists, like dual agonists, triple agonists, as we now know with Retta and TERS. It's not just like at the core Ozempic, right? When it was just semaglutide, I would be much more quicker to say, hey, and leave it in that class. But now that since we've had dual agonists and triple agonists, I think that they kind of deserve their own class.
All right, we'll leave it at that. Positive T, another former guest, my man. Fella, what was your kryptonite during your journey? Anyone?
You know, I didn't.
I
I
didn't.
didn't.
Go ahead. Go, Paul.
No, no, go ahead, go, RMC. I'm sorry, man. I'm talking too much.
I didn't have one during my active weight loss journey. I did not have kryptonite. The medication had me locked in, and my determination had me locked in. Now, my kryptonite was maintenance itself. That part of my journey, trying to figure that out and battling what dose of the medication to be on because I was starting to get food noise creeping back in, especially sugar. Sugar is my weakness. So just try to navigate maintenance, trying to understand, a dosing schedule, a dose itself, how hard to work out, how many days in the week to work out. So it took me a while to figure that out, a long while. So that's just me.
And I would say
Yeah, I
with
don't.
me,
Go ahead, Paul. Go ahead.
and like with me, I'm still on my journey. So thankfully, I haven't had any kryptonite yet because I'm kind of like RMZ. I've been locked in, since I've been on my journey. So I thought it was going to be Taheem gummy bears, but it hasn't been that because I can look at them in the store and don't even go that way. But hopefully it stays that way, and then once I get into maintenance, I can have that struggle like RMZ had, and then at least I'll be in maintenance though.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing, Paul. That's why I was like, go ahead. I mean, I feel like I'm still within my journey. I haven't hit maintenance yet, so I can't really, I think that throughout the journey so far, I think because of the type of medications that we're taking, it sort of kind of like helps you to not have to, have a kryptonite. I think the kryptonite was all the other failed attempts we had, trying to do it alone, without the help of a GLP-1. I think that the GLP-1, it sort of kind of like allows us to not run into that. Do we have struggles, some reoccurring food noise, some bouts of possible fatigue, things like that, that could be considered side effects? Yes. But as far as kryptonite, I don't think that's kind of a thing. At least not hasn't been for me.
And I'm gonna say, speak for yourself, G's one of one. Because me, I have not had food suppression at all on this entire journey. And I've been on 15 since June of 2025. And they were talking about, oh, well, you're going to be able to not have cravings and all that. When? When that happening? But one thing that I have had is I've had great satiety. So, and being able to have different things and being able to find balance. Because on this journey, I have had to find balance and being able to navigate this and that and what works and what doesn't. So I would not say I particularly have a kryptonite because there are things that I'll have if I have if I want some, and perfectly Pamela, if you're out there, there's nothing wrong with nerd
No
clusters. So
questions.
if I want some nerd clusters, I'll have some nerd clusters. Or if Teddy D is there, I'll have milk duds, but I don't have an entire bag of nerd cluster or an entire bag of milk duds, but I'll have some, but nothing that I would say that is a kryptonite or something that's going to derail me because I still have these left and right limits that kind of help me with navigation. So
Yes. So
for you all have
so
the
for
wonderful gift
clarity,
of suppression, and for you all who have the control of cravings, and for you all who have the mindset where you all are not thinking about those things, I commend you. I honor you. I clap you up, and I'm so excited for you.
So for clarity, Darian, when somebody say kryptonite, see, when I say kryptonite, I think about Superman, right? And that
Mhm.
was absolutely debilitating. So the way I understood the question was kryptonite. I'm not saying you don't have hungers because cravings, because you should. I'd be worried if you didn't have cravings because you're still a human.
Okay, well, I mean that's good, but hey, I've heard a lot of testimonies, and a lot of people say, well, "I've taken these medication and it has cured my cravings."
Don't put words in my mouth. I ain't said that
No,
now.
no, G's, for G's, if you said something, I'm going to say, G's said so and so.
I know.
I'm not going to give you any, it's not going to be any roundabout, anything that if I say you said it, it's because you said it. I'm talking about what I hear in the streets that people
Yeah.
have said that this is their testimony. And I just was adding
He,
another context.
he,
I
So,
he, he
appreciate
talking about he talking about me, G's. That's what he do. He knows what I'm saying that.
oh,
So
if I would talk about you, I would say, Paul Amadeus Lane, you said,
it.
yeah.
Hey, Darren, just imagine how hungry you'll be without that 15, though. Whew.
Darren said, I ain't got to imagine. I did it.
okay, so sir, that's a whole conversation for a whole other live. So I apologize. Go to the next question. I can bemoan my station in life on a different live.
Oh,
It's gonna be
man.
on the Substack. That's a Substack. That's what's
Yep.
gonna happen.
That was the
Well, I
last
guess.
question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Stop giving him material. We giving Darren some material. That's all.
I know. G Money, you about to say something about your kryptonite?
Well, I guess kind of a different perspective on that kryptonite. And I haven't thankfully derailed myself, but the one kryptonite I have to continue fighting against is myself. Trying not to get too critical of myself, and I'll say something from today. So, Darian, I went and cheated. I had me a small blizzard at lunch at work, and I was just all on myself. He's like, was it a big bucket? I was like, well, no, it wasn't. Was it pretty small? Yeah. So I had moderation. I was, not as bad as I thought. But through this journey, I just found I can't be too critical of myself, but you can't let yourself go either. So it's that fine balance that you can't let that kryptonite get to you too.
Now I want a
Yeah,
blizzard, G Money.
yeah.
Hey,
There
hey,
you
look,
go.
G Money, I'm
this
the
ain't
same way because yeah, I'm the same
this
way,
ain't
G
Weight
Money,
Watchers,
because
man. We don't. You can eat what you want, man. Eat what you want. Just have
Yeah.
anything you want in moderation. You know what I mean? Nobody ever said you can't have ice cream, cake, pizza. You can have whatever you want. Just have it in moderation. That's all. You earned
yeah,
it.
Oh,
yeah, I was the
now
same way because
remember when you putting that in the comments, G's one of one said
I
you
said
can
it.
have
I
whatever
said it,
you
and I
want.
stand
So
on it.
make sure you direct your comments towards
Yep.
G's one of one.
Do it. Do it. Do it. Because I did
nah,
it.
hey,
I did it. I did it and
hey,
still lost 100 pounds. So you can do
yeah,
it.
Okay,
Go ahead.
there you go. Go ahead,
nah,
Paul. I'm sorry.
and you know what? I did it too because when Charles and Andre both went out to lunch, first time he took us, we got some bomb tacos. And up until that point, I was like low carb, no tacos, no nothing. So I was like, if RMG ate it, I'm gonna eat it. So and then we went to Lolo's, had some chicken and waffles. So normally I haven't had chicken and waffles since I've been on this journey. But I'm like, if RMG did it, he lost over 100 pounds. I'm
Hey,
gonna have me
Paul.
some chicken and waffles.
They
Yeah,
were all low carb, high protein options.
that's what it was.
Yeah.
But it was good. It was good. And you know what? Normally if I was at Roscoe's, I would have had two waffles and two pieces of chicken. Last night I had one waffle and one piece of chicken, and I didn't eat all my waffles. I was
Yeah.
full. So I'm learning too, G Money, that to learn to be normal on this thing. That's what I'm learning.
Right.
This is for life, man. It's for life. You can't be sitting up there acting like you on Weight Watchers. This ain't Weight Watchers.
Exactly. You're right.
That's
You're
it.
right. Yep.
All right, I think that's it. We ran out of questions. We only had 3.
Oh, by the way, I had the Butterfinger. If you wanted to know.
Oh yeah, Butterfinger. Oh man, you lost it. G Money, that was Butterfinger. Oh.
Oh man.
That's good.
He done flipped the confessional. Like he was doing confessional
I
brain.
know.
He was letting it all hang out tonight, boy.
This is my confession.
You feel
Butterfinger Darian.
better?
Absolutely, man. Much
That's
better.
it. My name is Grant, and I had a Butterfinger Blizzard.
Come on, Greg, you gotta sing confessions by Usher. Come on. This is my confession. I had a small blizzard with some Butterfingers too.
Let me open the door here and talk to Priest Darian.
That's it.
All right, so we gonna call it a night. I guess the live is really getting pushed out there because I think I banned like 12 people tonight.
Yeah,
Wow.
well, we've had a 60 average for a while too. So
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Now,
So-
I just got to ask y'all something because y'all keep it real with me. What was I messy tonight, or was I on my best behavior?
Nah, you weren't messy.
All right, because Rainy Days told me, she said, "You look nice, act nice." So when I look nice, I gotta act nice. So I'll tell her I act nice today. So
We need you to get over your
Bring
cold
on
so
the
you can be messy.
Bring on the
yeah,
mess.
hopefully, yeah, I'll get over that cold next week. I'll be like,
All right, so we're gonna call it a night, y'all. We thank you for joining us. We appreciate y'all sticking with us. Sorry for the technical delay, but all things work together, ain't that right? And we'll be back next week. I have Larry Hunter here who will be joining us, a former college athlete. Larry, I think his highest weight was 323. I think he's down at 228 now. And he's tried everything. He did everything, PX90, all kind of things to try to lose weight. And he cites his mom as his greatest motivation to get his health together when her final wishes on her deathbed. So I'm looking forward to hearing the story. Please tune in next week. I'll have Larry here with us, and next Tuesday at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. Again, thank you all for coming out for joining us tonight. Remember, get that PSA screening and that cholesterol screening. And also, if you're a man, get your testosterone screen if you're over 40 or over, and get those vitamin D screens to make sure that you're right there. All right, thank you. Join us next week. Talk to you later.
Bye.